Hey there YouTube, this is sjm4306 back with another video. This time, we're going to take a look at this Kamrui mini PC. Now, I was contacted a couple weeks back by the manufacturer of this, and they asked if I was interested in taking a look at it. And I actually have, if I just swing you over to the side right now, this is my daily driver, my desktop. I use this mostly for like CAD modeling, and hooked up to my 3D printer and all that, which is just above on the desk right next to this. Anyway, this is an Optiplex, a Dell Optiplex 780, and it's a Core 2 Duo, and it's getting pretty long in the tooth. I've had this for probably about 5 or 6 years by now, and it's definitely seen better days. I've fixed it a couple times already. And so when they asked if I was interested in looking at a new mini PC, one that's actually significantly smaller than that one and a little bit more capable, actually, I'm pretty sure it's going to be quite a bit more capable than a Core 2 Duo. And I was thrilled. I definitely will get a lot of use out of this. Anyway, we can take a look at the specifications of this specific model. It's the GK3V. I'm not sure exactly what the difference is between these specific models. They might be just aesthetic. And it comes in silver, which I think looks pretty slick. It comes configured with DDR4 RAM, and you can see it goes from 4 gigs to 32. I got the 8 gig variant. And I believe my desktop right now only has, I want to say it's 4 gigs, which is pretty sad for a computer. It's only running Windows 7, so this is already double the RAM. And the ROM, so what they call ROM is your SSD, is anywhere from 64 to 512. I got the 128 gig version. I actually have a spare 512 gig stick, an M.2 that I pulled from my laptop when I upgraded it to 2 terabytes. So I could actually clone this and upgrade it to 512. But for now, I'll stick with the stock SSD, and I'll test it based off of that. And US power supply, etc., etc. Very nicely packed, and they do have a like a little sticker here so that you know you're getting a new product. Just gonna cut that and slide this out. Very nicely packaged. So I can't remember exactly what this what the price for this specific configuration is off the top of my head, so I'll put a little text down here with the exact price for this model. But yeah, you can see the unit itself is right here, and it is cold because it's cold outside, and this was sitting on my doorstep when I woke up. And there's a bit of sort of, I guess, packing material or something there. But yeah, here's the unit itself, already getting fingerprints on it. I think that's just condensation. And the unit itself is all this, yeah. It feels like plastic. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is like ABS. And all these like little black specks, they're not actually like scratches on the unit. They're just, I guess, like the foam or something like that. I know, yeah, we have the unit itself here, model GK3V as it said, and the configurations there. CPU is a Gemini Lake. I believe it's like a Celeron J4125. It is a quad-core processor. There, and you can see lots of cooling vents all along the side. And I believe, yeah, here you go. You have legacy VGA output for video. You have 2 HDMI ports. I love having multi-monitor setup, so that's definitely going to be really cool. We have a USB. It says USB 4. I guess they're counting, yeah, USB 1, USB 2, 3, and 4. It's not like USB 4.0. That doesn't exist. But these 2 USB ports here are 3.0, and then we have 2 on either side here, 2.0 ports. So that'll be a good place to stick like a wireless dongle for like my wireless mouse and keyboard. We have our DC input, which is a barrel jack. So we have our LAN port here. We have like a Kensington lock and a headphone jack. It says that supports mic as well. And we have a power indicator light here, and the power switch on the side there. It's just a momentary. And yeah, we have this very nice, like, kind of gold trim going around to just sort of set it off from the silver paint. We have a fan vent on the side, and it is actually lifted slightly off the desk and has a little rubber feety. And 2 screw mounting posts, so if you wanted to, you could hang this on a wall, or... And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, there we go. Celeron inside. And I glossed past this. There's a little switch here. It's not really a switch. I believe it's a latch. You might actually have to remove this screw, I'm guessing, to get inside the case, because this will actually support... It has an M.2, but not only that, it'll actually support a full laptop size 2.5-inch SATA drive. It's a nice looking thing. Here we have more goodies. I'm guessing the AC adapter. There you go. And surprisingly, it's actually one of these bricks. I would have figured it'd be like a laptop style brick with, you know, an AC cord on one end and the DC out on the other, but no, it's one of these like brick style AC adapters. Yeah, this guy, oh, it actually runs off 12 volts. That is awesome. So if you have like a solar panel set up or whatever, you could run this like straight off of like lead acid batteries. So that's really cool. Actually, that I'm more excited for that now. Because yeah, 12 volts at 2.5 amps. Yeah, that's what would it be, 24 and 6, so 30 watt. So 30 watts max. So yeah, the TDP on this has to be less than 30 watts. So that sort of fits in line. So let's see how long this cord is though. Yeah, it's kind of short. It's I want to say it's like 3 feet maybe. Maybe a little less. So if you are going to run this kind of somewhat a ways from an outlet, you might need an extension cord, or you can maybe extend this end using like a barrel jack, double-ended barrel jack male to female extender there. But yeah, it's a little bit short, but we have a HDMI cable, which is an HDMI cable. Nothing special there. We got some paper goodies. We got the user manual, which... Okay, yeah. English. Yeah, which is about like 5 or 6 pages, so it's not going to be very in-depth. And yeah, I noticed that they have a couple different styled modelings. I'm guessing that's what the model number alludes to. There's different designs here. You can see this one looks a little bit different, but the layout of all the ports and everything looks the same. They have a kind of more boxier looking one, which is the AK2 series, and I have the GK3, and I guess the AK3 is the same. And this actually has a license for Windows 10 Pro. So that's definitely really nice to have. And as well, you can install, I mean, this is just a mini PC. You can install Linux on this. You can install kind of whatever else you want. If you wanted to downgrade this to like Windows 7 or whatever, I don't see any issues with doing that. I'm guessing this would be... Oh, it actually... Oh, it comes with the Visa mount. Yay! This is awesome. Okay, good. They actually thought about that. And it has... Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I was gonna say you could 3D print one, but yeah, you don't have to. They provide you with one, and it just sort of clips in there. There you go, and it snaps in, and you have this screwed to your monitor or your wall. That is awesome. Okay, it comes with the screws too. Definitely thought ahead on that. Okay, let's just take out this one screw, and I want to see how much space we have inside. Okay, now this should, yeah, there you go. It's just spring-loaded, and it just pops right out. There's little catches on there. Yeah, this is ABS like I thought. It's just painted. So yeah, if you do scratch this, it looks like the original plastic is this black material. That's what all these little flecks are from. I guess it's from the molding. They're just sort of broken off pieces from the flashing. But anyway, yeah, it's black, so if you scratch it, you will see black. So if that's a concern for you, then maybe, I think I saw this does come in a black color. If you get a black color, I'm guessing it'll be much less obvious if you get it scratched. And here we have the gold plastic. It goes all the way around. And yeah, here we have the The hard drive just sits in here. And yeah, it just screws in from, I guess you take the screws. If you pull the drive from somewhere, it'll come with screws. You can just screw it in there. But yeah, we have a little piece of tape here. Just holding it down. There's some kind of washer here. Not sure why. So yeah, we have our SATA cable right in here. We have a couple more screws here. I wonder what this washer was for. It was just like taped on there. Okay, 3 screws and the bracket comes right out. See one screw here. And interestingly enough, there's like a male USB-C port sticking up there at a right angle. That's really weird. I wonder what that's for. It has to be for something. Give me a sec. I'm gonna see how exactly to get this apart further. Before even turning it on, of course, I gotta take it apart. Okay, I figured it out. Of course, it's under the little rubber feet. There's just 4 screws. And you gotta remove this at a bit of an angle so that the switch clears. So I guess pull it out from this side first. And then you can just pull this out completely. That's just held captive in there, so it's not gonna pop out on you. So yeah, we have... Now we're down to here, and I can see 4 more screws. No screw in this corner, oddly enough. And we have the LED light. There is a little sort of connector going there. There's the, sorry about that. There's a sticker type, like flat flex Wi-Fi antenna, and that just is stuck right on here. So we just got to be careful not to rip that off. Oh, there's a screw in the corner here. Wonder if that's the missing screw in the corner down here. Okay, well, good thing I opened this up, because if that got dislodged and shorted something while it was on, that could have definitely been bad. Yeah, not too happy to see that. That was a little bit naughty of them. Sort of lifts off. The ports are in the back there, so you just got to clear them. And here we go. We have the entire motherboard right here, and yeah, you can see there's a ribbon just going off to the VGA port there, so you can't pull it all the way. Plus the LEDs and the antennas are still connected. So here we have the main heatsink, and yeah, you can see the fins right in there, and it's sort of angled at an angle, which is interesting. There's a lot of extra ribbon, like ZIF connectors that aren't connected to anything. These two, that's interesting. And is this like an IR receiver port or something like that? That's just not populated? That's interesting. We have the SSD here, and you can see, sorry about that, everything was not in focus. So yeah, you can see the SSD here, 128 gig. It's a, unfortunately, I just realized it's a shorter one. I have the 80 millimeter 512 gig card, so it won't fit in here. This guy looks like it's maybe the 40 or 32 millimeter one. So it's whatever, the shorter one. So unfortunately, yeah, if you are going to get an SSD to replace this, to upgrade, you'll need to get one that's the right size. And that's the CMOS battery. And yeah, I'm not going to pull off the fan and whatnot. There's just going to be the CPU. And there's an SD card slot, which is covered. Huh. There's an SD card slot that is covered. There's no hole cut into the case. This is obviously the power button. This is the BIOS, sorry about that. This is the BIOS flash chip. So if that's something that you need to know. But yeah, that SD, I wonder, I might try sticking in a blank SD card and see if it shows up as an extra drive. Because that's interesting, and if it works, you know, the hardware is there, as long as the software recognizes it. I might just cut a small slit in the case. There's an unpopulated ZIF connector in here. That's interesting. And yeah, we have all the right angle ports there. And it looks like the RAM is hard soldered. Oops, sorry about that. I can just about see one of the packages here. So it's hard soldered, which is kind of unfortunate. So no upgradey on that. And yeah, we have a right angle SATA connector. And the power is just coming from here, data, power, and that's what connects to this guy. This is why I like taking things apart, because sometimes they're like hidden features that you can kind of clearly tell they intended to possibly use, and they just never did, like that SD card slide. Anyway, I'll try that out later. I'm just going to get this together and give it a first boot. Okay, so here's the unit itself. Now, this process took quite a bit longer than I would have liked to actually be able to fully test this thing. So I'd gotten this, it's probably been close to almost 2 months by now. And I had done the initial like teardown video. I'd done a little bit of testing. I started doing like tests on the SSD to see how fast it was and whatnot. One thing that I did find was the SSD appears to have been used, and I have a screenshot here from a diagnostic program that I ran a few tests on it. And yeah, you could see it seems like it has a number of power on hours and some errors and some other stuff. It just didn't look right. So I'm guessing the SSD was a pull from another device or something. That's the only thing I can figure on that. And it actually, in line with that, I'd set this up as like a little server. I'd set up a 2.5-inch SATA SSD as like a storage drive, and I'd ran this for about a day. And when I came back to it the next morning, the unit was off, and I thought maybe my power went out or something. So I tried to turn it back on, and it booted into BIOS, and it wouldn't go into Windows. And I could not get it to do anything. I used a Windows 10, like one of these installation recovery disks, and it couldn't even see the SSD. So I took the SSD out and I put it into this guy, and it's actually still in here. So here's the stock SSD that it came with. It's a Who disk and 128 gig, and this guy won't even enumerate anymore. So it is dead as a doornail. When I plug this into a computer, this adapter just won't even recognize it. Windows won't even, it won't populate, it won't do anything. So that SSD is completely dead. So anyway, I contacted the manufacturer, and they very kindly sent me a new one, and this time it was brand new. So I have the box over here, and it's a Dogfish branded one, which I've never heard of given, but this one at least was sealed, and it was completely blank when I got it, so it definitely was brand new. And I've been using this for about a month now with this new SSD, and there's no issues. So there's a cautionary tale. I'm not going to say that every SSD that they put out into one of these units will be used, but mine definitely was, so your mileage may vary. It might be something that you need to check once you receive the Kamrui to see if you have a used SSD. If it has a lot of errors on it, then you might want to contact the manufacturer. Because honestly, for the price of this, when I checked on the website last, it was about $250 USD, I think it was a little less in euros. But for that amount of money, I would definitely expect any computer that you buy should have a new SSD. But okay, so that left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth, but they made it right by giving me a brand new SSD, so fine. So that process was pretty quick. The other thing that I noticed, so I have the Wi-Fi in the next room over, the router. I don't have an Ethernet cable that I can plug in. And the inbuilt Wi-Fi, there's two antennas. There's one in the back here, one in the front. And it's okay, but it's really not great. And so I actually opted for one of these USB plug-in style ones with this little antenna that you can, orientate to give you better reception. And this guy works fine with the external. The internal one, it did mostly work. It was kind of slow, honestly. I was trying to download different programs to install, like browser. I tried to install like Firefox and whatever, and like a whole host of antivirus stuff and that kind of junk. But it just was taking forever, so I had to opt for external USB. So if you're gonna get this plan, if you're not gonna if you're gonna use Ethernet, then you won't have this issue at all. Ethernet works just fine. But if you're going to use Wi-Fi, plan on having to use one of these external dongles. And yeah, other than that, the SSD adapter card part works just fine. I have a 2 terabyte SSD plugged in, and it enumerates, it recognizes, it's decently fast. I'm getting like about 100 megabytes per second transfer rate from like the USB 3 port to the onboard SATA drive. So it's a decent speed connection. Now, I will say, just to let you know, it is in standby. It glows red when it's in sleep mode, and when it turns on, it turns blue, obviously. In general, though, in terms of processing capability, it is a Celeron. I believe it is a quad-core processor, though. Yeah, in terms of thermals, this guy gets kind of toasty. It's not quiet. There is a fan. There's active cooling. And it definitely, you can like feel it when it's actually processing. When it's just like sitting here and sleeping, there's like no noise, no heat. But once I fire this up and start playing some games on it, it'll pump out a little bit of heat, and yeah, it'll make a little bit of noise. It's not, I don't think it's excessive. Given the size of this unit, I think it's actually fine. I don't need it to be absolutely silent, so I think it's sufficient. But definitely, if you wanted something quieter, you're probably going to have to get something physically larger with better cooling internally. The heatsink on this was only about like yay big. It's just like a little heatsink that takes up about that much room. So you can't really expect it to be pumping, watts and watts of energy and not to get warm and to be silent. I guess what we can do is, you might have noticed I have this PS4 controller next to it. I wanted to do some tests, but I wanted to do like real world tests. I know you can look up those charts with like crystal disk info, whatever, metrics for running like standard tests on it. That doesn't really tell me much. What I want to know is I want to actually use this as an emulator box. So I wanted to pick something kind of challenging, but not too crazy. PS3, I have a feeling, would kick this the processor's butt on this unit. So I think PS2 is strenuous enough that it'll show if this processor is actually capable of a decent amount of power. But anything lower than that would be too easy. So I fired up PS2 emulator and I loaded it with some of my my disk grips. And so let's give that a test. I have a couple games, a range of either 3D and 2D games, or like lower graphics quality games, just to put it through its paces and see what the Celeron inside here is capable of doing with that 8 gigs of RAM. Now, this does not have a dedicated graphics card, so that'll definitely be affecting it. But yeah, let's just fire it up. Okay, so here I have the emulator. I'm using PCX2 and version 1.6 in case you're interested. And I have a game fired up already. In this case, it's Final Fantasy 12. And I don't have any crazy settings set for this. It's rendering 512 by 448, so sort of the native resolution of the PS2. And there are some issues I found, but that might actually be the emulator and or my configuration and not the fault of this box. You'll notice when I fire it up, I'm not holding the stick or anything. It rotates. However, if I hold either right on the joystick or press and hold the R2 button, it stops rotating and I'm able to control it normally, which is kind of weird. But yeah, you can see I'm running at, well, maybe you can't see. Hopefully you can, but it's a 93%, about 55 frames per second running right now. And this is perfectly playable. Now, if I increase the resolution up to about 720p, I will notice some drops down to about like 80%, 75%. But for the most part, even that's still playable, and it looks better than this mode. But this mode runs pretty much as fast as the stock system. But the graphics are a little bit jaggedy, but that's sort of how PS2 games tend to look anyway. Let's just get into this and actually see if I have audio as well. Yeah, audio works. I'm just going to turn that down Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike or anything. Yeah, it's like 85% in a cutscene. Yeah, dropping to about 75% when a lot's happening, but nominally running at about 80-85%. So it's a little slower than running it on a stock system, but this is perfectly playable. There we go, drops about 60% during this. So yeah, it's having a bit of trouble. This game in particular is it has a bit heavier requirements, so maybe that's the issue. Yeah, we're about 100% during this cutscene, so that's pretty good. Drop into about 70%. Let's just skip that. Yeah, let's just try something else for a sec. So an easier game to emulate, Ys, should be quite a bit easier, in fact. Let's just fire that up. And this is running at about, it's the same resolution, 100%. I will say, having all the SSDs for everything instead of having a physical disk drive, the loads are really fast, especially compared to like a real console. Yeah, this runs perfectly, 100%, no drops that I'm seeing. There we go. This is perfectly playable. There we go. And I'm dead. But yeah, that's perfectly playable. By the way, I'm using one of these iPassport wireless keyboards to switch games. I got Lament of Innocence running. Curse of Darkness just black screens for some reason. I have a feeling it's my configuration. There should be no reason. It's not that taxing of a game. It should definitely run. I started all these games, so I at least got through all the intros so that you can kind of see gameplay, not just FMVs. Yeah, so this guy running 100% in this save room here. This game always was kind of weird. You don't. It's fixed camera. You don't control the camera. Yeah, so far it seems fixed at about 100%. Sometimes drops to like 97 or 96. But this seems pretty. Yeah. Okay. That seems to run just fine. Now the fan has kicked on this game. You can get, maybe just listen to. It's about as loud as you'd expect like a laptop to be. Yeah, so it's definitely not annoying. It's noticeable, but it's not like so distracting that you couldn't play in the same room with it. Let's play some Persona 4. I love this game. And I'll show you what I mean by upscaling and the effect that it has on frame rate. So I'm just going to load up to what I played. FMVs play, it's kind of oscillating between 99% and 101%. But yeah, there's no issues with that. It's not stuttering or skipping. Title screen, about 100% as well. You wouldn't expect. Once you get into game, though, depending on what's happening on the screen, You might notice some drops. Yeah, it's about 101, 102%, drops down to like 99 every once in a while. This is basically full speed though. No problem with that. Now let's up the upscaling. Let's do like 2 times rendering. So to do that, and this is rendering at the native resolution, let's up that to about 720p. And you'll notice instantly this is significantly clearer. This is what I would like to play at. Sometimes drops to about 90% now though. So it does lower, it definitely increases the like the graphical quality, but it will lower your frame rate just a little bit. Sure. Yeah, even the audio is not stuttering or anything. It's playing back pretty smooth. Now, it did drop just now to 44%. So for some reason, it's having trouble with this screen. And you'll see it is slower now. So let's just see if we get into like a combat situation, what the frame rate is on that. We're about 80%, 60%, about 70% now. But I mean, this looks really nice. I might have to play around with some maybe frame skip settings or whatever, because I would love to be able to play at this resolution. It just seems like it's just a tad too much for this processor. It is getting a little warm now. Not hot to the touch, but definitely a little warm. So yeah, you can see it's really struggling here. It's 38%. If I drop this down to the about 640p, you'll notice it'll speed right back up. Yeah, now we're at like 99, 106%. It looks noticeably worse though. So if I could just squeeze a little bit more performance from this to be able to play it at the much nicer looking 720p resolution, I would love that. This is rotating too. It must be something having to do with the analog mode on the controller, which I don't know how to. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to fix this because this makes it unplayable. Here, if I just hold this button, there we go. About 90% now. It's rendering like a lot of particle effects and that kind of stuff, so I guess that's maybe an issue. Yeah, it's running about 100%. Okay, so now we're actually 100% solid. Let me just lower that volume a bit. I mean, it still looks really good actually for only being like 640p. I could definitely sit here and play this. Yeah, it's pretty rock steady, 100% in this game at least so far. Not many dips that I've seen when it's rendering to the native resolution. If you try to increase it, yeah, you definitely do need more processing power. Especially since, like I said, this is all doing this on the CPU as well as, I'm guessing, the integrated graphics. This is just making me want to replay this game. I have Golden, so I'll probably end up playing it on my Vita. That's more comfortable playing it portably for me. But yeah, I could definitely sit down and play this entire game emulated now. I'm surprised. The last time I tried the PS2 emulator was on my first laptop, which was also a Celeron actually, and that struggled like crazy. I think it was only a single core and like 2 gigahertz max. like a 2006 laptop, so definitely that was pushing it. And I remember trying to fire up Final Fantasy X and getting like 5 to 10 frames a second. It was really unplayable. But nowadays, that's actually kind of crazy that this small of a PC can run this pretty much with no issues at the native resolution. So yeah, sorry, I just like started filming and like it's been half an hour and I've just been trying to get into like a point in this game. But it's gonna take like too long and I don't have that much time tonight. So anyway, yeah, in terms of the capability, this guy can totally emulate some PS2 games. Maybe not like the really graphically intensive games like this. Probably will struggle on God of War. Other games like it that are, you know, really heavy with resources. But for the most part, most of the games I tried on this guy run just fine. Some dips every once in a while, but yeah, now it's actually a little bit toasty. I wouldn't call this hot though. Yeah. But yeah. So I guess in summary, who is this machine really for? Kind of asking myself that. I don't think it's for like someone who's super technical. You would probably just buy a secondhand bare bones PC and build it yourself if that's what you're into. It's probably not for like a gamer either, realistically, because you're going to want a dedicated graphics card. This is sort of, I guess, something that you can stick like behind your TV and kind of forget about and just like use this as a NAS or a media player or maybe to surf the web. That'll do all that just fine. This was actually probably more strenuous and this is targeted towards emulating like higher end systems. But it seemed to actually work pretty well, worked better than I thought it would, which is probably a testament both to this unit as well as the PS2 emulators. They've done like tons of optimizations, I bet you, over the years since the last time I used it in like 2006 or 7. So yeah. Things I really like that it just uses a standard like 2 amp 12 volt power supply, which places the TDP of this unit at under 24 watts, which is actually pretty low. But the reason why I like that is because it's just 12 volts. It's not some weird voltage like 19 or 24 volts. About that, just checked. It's actually 2.5 amps at 12 volts. So that'll be what 24 plus 6, so about 30 watt TDP max on this. Assuming you're going to get less than that. But anyway, so yeah, because it's just standard 12 volts, you could actually like rig this and wire this into like a solar panel battery setup. You can set this up to run off of like 18650s in series. So it's a lot more approachable and it just uses a standard like 2.5 mil barrel jack. So I think this guy would be really neat for like hacking and modding. I'm almost tempted to 3D print a case that looks like a PS2 and stand this up on its side and make it look like a tiny little PS2. That might be something fun to do. But anyway, yeah. In terms of the quality of the hardware itself, it seems a little bit hit or miss. There were some issues. The plastic doesn't feel like the greatest quality. It's not the cheapest either. But for something that costs over $200, I would have expected a little bit better in terms of the construction. There was like a random screw I found floating around inside. Some of the hardware seems a little flaky, that SSD. But I might have just gotten a dud unit. I guess that would happen. Or maybe this was like a pre-production test unit. I don't know. But at least they were pretty quick and it was easy enough to get them to send me a replacement. There was no issue there. So yeah, anyway, if you guys are interested, I will put a link down below where you can find this guy. I believe they said that there's some sale that they're going to be running. I don't know if the regular retail price of this was about $250 last I checked. It might be a little more or less. I have no idea. But I'll put a link down below. I just kind of wanted to play PS2 games, and this guy seemed like it'd be interesting to try to do that. Especially with the Celeron. I wasn't sure when I read the specs on this. I haven't had a PC with the Celeron in a number of years, and they weren't necessarily powerhouses last I checked. So I just thought it'd be interesting to put this up against something a little heavier than just streaming movies and surfing the web. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.